Thanks for downloading and watching the RJ Young Show podcast. Today, I want to talk about a number of different things. I'm going to be joined a little bit later on by, Steve from Tulsa, and you'll get to meet him a little bit later on. You know how I like to do here. I have my friends on to talk with me from time to time as I try to talk and take your questions, but I'm going to start doing something a little bit different, right? So many of you know that I spend a large part of my time reading, right? Things as widely as I'm into The Last Hero by Howard Bryant, which is about Henry Aaron. Don't call him Hank. And I get in that a little bit. I just finished Flip the Script, which is still over here. It's Ed Orgeron's book, ghostwritten by Bruce Feldman, about his tenure at LSU and how he got to LSU. There's a few more stories in there that I want to tell you after I've told you a couple of them on this here channel. And I read just recently a biography of Genghis Khan, and I've been thinking about why I got into YouTube, how I got over to YouTube, what led me to YouTube, and while there's a big political bent to that I'm not going to get into, the first things that I did on YouTube were book reviews. I did a book review series called I Hate Dragons because I contend that dragons totally screw up whatever narrative is you're trying to tell, because you drop an F-16 in a medieval setting and everything goes to absolute crap when you're talking about the reality of the situation, right? The way that human beings tend to write dragons is not how I believe dragons would act. To believe that you can have dominion over something as huge and as awesome and as powerful as a dragon is one of the heights of hubris that we enjoy as human beings. The only thing that is higher than us today on the food chain is the great white shark, and yet and still we try to catch that thing from a boat using a hook and a line. We are not the most rational human beings on the face of the earth. And that is also true in all these sports. Like, I'm looking at Ben DiNucci, who started for my Dallas Cowboys against the Philadelphia Eagles in an absolute trash show. But I also needed to outline for the folks that don't know that Ben DiNucci is that dude. As a matter of fact, Ben DiNucci is on par with Trey Lance at North Dakota State, and all people have been doing is ratcheting up the intensity on him with what we know as buzz. And the way that we think of buzz really comes from how we think of minor league baseball players before they hit the show. You hear droplets, you hear little bits of innuendo, rumor. You hear about what home run this man hit, and before TV, before highlights, before video, that's all we had was buzz. All we had was the Faye Young from the Chicago Defender that would travel the nation trying to record the stories of black athletes. And you would get some from your local newspaper that was following the farm team of your local pro team. And good luck if you didn't have a pro team in the area. So the way we talk about Ben DiNucci as a 7th round draft pick by the Dallas Cowboys and a rookie, I believe is wrong, because DiNucci actually said this following the game against the Philadelphia Eagles, in which the Cowboys lost. He was like 21 of 40 for $180 with no TDs. He looked way out of his depth. But the thing that he said was, this National Football League thing is hard. And to illustrate that, you got to really take a look at how good he was at James Madison. Like, I was actually joking with my producer on ESPN Radio Game Night with Jeff Dickerson. Her name's Emily, and Emily was talking about how I was just shading James Madison because, you know, I'm kind of getting after her because she went to University of Virginia. I'm trying to get to know her. She's getting to know me. But y'all know that I go deep on the college football, so much so that I probably go a little too deep for anybody that might think of college football as casual. Like, I can say DJ Uiagalele's name, and I've been able to say his name for like 2 solid years because that's the kind of show that this has been. Y'all ain't here to hear me talk about Trevor Lawrence and the COVID. Y'all ain't even here to hear me talk about how Ian Book is probably a better dual threat quarterback in the classic sense of the word, meaning get him out on the bootleg, get him out in space, and make a defender make a decision about whether or not they're going to collapse the space or let him throw on them, than almost anything else. Like, you want to know about the 2021 prospects like Billy Bowman, who was on the show yesterday, talked about why he chose to commit to Oklahoma after reopening his recruitment after being committed to Texas for like 13 months. So knowing that about y'all and knowing that about myself and how I've always felt that I need to go deeper and be narrower to get your attention, to grow this channel, to engender not just your loyalty, but your respect. Because, like, you'll know that I don't particularly care whether or not you like me. I care that I have respect from my peers, from the folks that patronize this channel. And to do that, I got to be well-read, right? I have to know what I'm talking about. As a matter of fact, one of my friends, Caden McFarland, he's the sports director at Channel 2 in Tulsa, KJRH, works his butt off. One of the things that he said was, yo, RJ, in the profession you're in, like sports talk radio, you have to know what you're talking about and you have to know where you're going. Otherwise, everybody knows that you're stupid. Which is another way of saying you can tell when people have done their homework and you can tell when people have not done their homework, and you can tell when you have a showman out there that's just going, I'm going to just get up here and do a set. So with Ben DiNucci, that is a craftsman that was just unprepared for being on stage at the Apollo, man. And you can't blame him for that because, like, look at his track record. Top 10 all time in JMU statistical categories, of which there are 5, in which he is either 7th or better. He's tied for completions in a career with 479, passing yards in a career with 5,716. No, that's a season. That's not even a career. Passing touchdowns, 45. Pass attempts, 687. And total offense, 6,718, right? And he led that James Madison team to a national championship berth against this dude named Trey Lance that many of y'all know something about. And I think to myself, if Ben DiNucci can go out with the skill players that the Dallas Cowboys had and get roasted the way he got roasted, what makes you think that Trey Lance ain't going to get roasted? Like, you could say the offensive line, but usually if you're getting drafted highly, you're getting drafted by a team that's got trash for an offensive line. Even Tua Tagovailoa is learning how to deal with that at Miami. Joe Burrow's learning how to deal with that at Cincinnati. For the first 2 years of the Baker Mayfield experience, we have been saying, get that man an offensive line, protect him. You're going to get him destroyed. You're going to get him killed. This is what happened to, Derek Carr's big brother David at the Texans. They did not have an offensive line, and he got destroyed. As a matter of fact, I still think he has the highest tally for sacks in a single season of any quarterback. Like, he was just getting put on his back. But you also need to know that James Madison plays in a really tough conference, right? The Colonial Athletic ain't no slouch. And to be an AFCA first-team All-American tells you a lot about what kind of quarterback DiNucci was. But I think sometimes we take for granted how much easier the game can be for those that are a cut above. And we tend to think of them as not working as hard.